And then there's also the strategy of retaining the members that are already in there, which is equally as important, like nurturing the audience that's there rather than just always trying to get more people in.
That's Nicole Wild, founder of the Collective Kula. In our conversation, we discover how she took her business from YouTube yoga to a thriving membership of her own. Check it out. Nicole, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about your business. First off, could you introduce yourself and your business?
The business as an umbrella is Nicole Wild Collective, and I have the Kula, which is my yoga membership website that's hosted through Uscreen. And then I'm also starting to lead yoga teacher trainings, and I lead a lot of in-person retreats and workshops and those types of things as well. So I have kind of this online and in-person components to the brand.
What made you decide that a membership was the right way to have this yoga for the general consumer part of your business?
Yeah, awesome question. There's kind of like a long and a short version of the story, and I'll give you somewhere in between, and then you can ask me whatever questions you want. But it was honestly an accident, like truly it was an accident. But I think the world shifting online during the pandemic, I was already teaching yoga in person. And then when everything started to move into an online space, I was uploading classes onto YouTube, and I really didn't have a strategy around it. I didn't have much of an intention behind it, but I had already received my bachelor's degree in film and photography. So I had the gear to create high quality content, and I kind of knew the basics of what it meant to be like putting this material up online. And the YouTube thing turned into more of a thing than I thought it would be. And then that group of people and that following that started to build on YouTube was kind of like, what's next? Like, what's more? Where else can we practice with you? How can we get regular classes? And so at that point, I realized it was time to shift into more of a membership model where I was promising a very specific offering. Like, I upload 3 times a week, and yeah, that's kind of the medium version of the story of shifting online.
That's great. Now, I was going to ask you how you knew it was time to go from just posting on YouTube to monetizing. So what I'm hearing is your audience was asking for it. They were ready for it.
Yeah, so I also led a month-long container that was, and I still lead it to today, but it started with a month-long container of live meditations. So it was for the month of January. I believe this would have been 2020, I guess. And so every day for a month, I went live in a small private Instagram group and private page. And at the end of that month, and this is at the same time as I was uploading YouTube videos, at the end of that month in particular, the people that were in that group were like, okay, this month is coming to a close. Like, what's after this? And I was like, well, you can practice with me on YouTube, but it wasn't like, I think they were looking for like the next actual thing that they could sign up for or be a part of or join in on. And so that was the growth on YouTube already had me thinking about a membership, but then the ending of that first month of live meditations was when I was really like pushed to put it in gear.
I love that. Did you charge for those live meditations?
Yes, kind of. It was donation based. And so I kind of had to like make a little bit of a workaround in my website because I hosted it through a private Instagram page, and there was a sign up page on my website. And then you kind of like filled in all the information, including your Instagram handle. And then you were prompted to follow this private Instagram page. So it wasn't very automated or like smooth. It was just kind of a way that I could work around creating kind of a group. And so now being on Uscreen and having like the software available inside of Uscreen to form and create and manage groups is so amazing.
What led to the idea that you want to start segmenting out these plans?
Yeah, also a fun question, because when I was getting ready to launch on day one, in my mind, I had a bunch of different segments already at that point, and I was working with a business coach who said, no, start simple and then see what people ask for. Because if you just go in with like, here are a million different options, then people can get decision fatigue, and you might end up giving options that don't have as much of a response to them in the first place. So she was like, start simple, give everyone access to everything, monthly and annual, and then you can listen to your people and see what people want and see what people ask for. And that's a huge part of my brand too, and something that I think people really appreciate is I'm asking people for feedback and I'm implementing it. And the amount of times I've gotten messages from people who have said like, "Hey, I asked for this and now it's here. That's amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, of course. I asked because I want this to be like a reciprocal relationship." So it's fun. I'm glad I started with a more simple option. And now it's fun to be listening to people and seeing what people are asking about and then being able to act on it. And it feels exciting for them to get these next kind of chapters of growth.
But so shifting gears just a little
Hmm.
bit, you mentioned that you put out 3 new pieces of content every week, which is a lot.
Hmm.
And so can you walk me through how you got to that cadence as being what's right for your
Yeah,
membership?
it's interesting because, like I said, I do ask for feedback so much. And also, like, the flip side of that is you can never please everyone. And that is something I've had to come to terms with because there are people who have said, like, oh, I could take 2 classes a week and the membership could be a little bit less cost and more accessible. Or then there's people who are like, I want a class every single day. Like, I want to be practicing yoga every single day. You should be uploading every single day. So there's always going to be a broad, like you can't catch everyone always. But I would say 3 classes a week felt like, for one, first and foremost, it felt something like I could commit to over time and not burn myself out because as the person on the back end of all this and the one doing all the recording, I would love to upload a class every week, but I don't feel that I would be offering the highest quality content if I was trying to if I was cramming my schedule to be able to do that. So 3 felt like an accessible and comfortable amount for me as the person recording. Eventually, I would love to bring in more guest teachers, and that's something we're working towards in the near future. And in that case, being able to offer more than just the 3 a week that I'm recording. But yeah, 3 felt like, I don't know, it just kind of felt like the magic number. I'm remembering this now. We kicked off the whole launch of the Kula with a 30-day challenge. So in those first 30 days, there was an upload every single day, and that was for the sake of building the library of content because every upload is added into the library and it builds upon itself. So now there are like 400 and something classes in there that people can choose from. So if there's not an upload for them that day, they can still go through and they can even filter out and select, like, they could search, I want a level 3 spice that's 45 minutes long and focuses on the hips, for example. Like there's all these different filter options and it'll populate the classes that are accessible to them or that match those criteria. But when we started, obviously there wasn't that full library yet. So I launched with a 30-day challenge that I uploaded every day for 30 days. And that could kind of at least build a class or a library of 30 classes to start with. So people would have some sort of a bank of classes. And then after that 30 days is when we've switched to the 3 per week. But now that 30-day challenge has become an annual thing. And we're in the middle of it right now, actually, which is great. It just launched 4 days ago. But the library of classes is also a really huge resource for the people in the group as well, beyond just the 3 uploads per week.
So when you first launched, how did you foster that sense of like openness? How did you get people to interact and love the Kula as much as you do?
Good question. I think in the videos, even though the videos are primarily yoga classes, oftentimes I'll say, like, hey, leave us comments if you have questions or want to share anything about your practice or share anything that came up for you today. And so I think giving people kind of like the spoken permission to reach out is sometimes all that is needed for someone to leave the comment, and then that opens the door for me to be able to respond. There's also, I was using a platform when I first launched the Kula that is off of Uscreen that was specifically, it was similar to a Facebook group, but with a different platform. And I used that for kind of the community page for a while until Uscreen had the community pages launch, and then I've moved everyone into Uscreen now for that function. But I've always really prioritized, I've always wanted it to feel like a two-way street and that people feel like I'm giving back to them beyond just uploading the content, and that there's actually kind of like a conversation going both ways rather than it being like 2 people looking at screens, if that makes sense.
So when you're marketing your membership out to the broader world, Or is there anything you would say has been the most successful strategy that you've tried?
I think that, well, the first thing that comes to my mind is like diversifying platforms. So, and I've had this question a couple of times from people that I've worked with, or I'm like marketing something together, like retreats that I'm co-hosting or things like that. Um, I don't just post on Instagram or just post on YouTube, but giving little tidbits to various platforms and having I have a mailing list that is growing, and that is really a great resource for when I'm sharing things with people. I'm posting on Instagram, I'm posting on YouTube, and a little bit on TikTok. I'm not as present on TikTok, but I do have one. And then also utilizing the community inside the Kula, because there's both like the marketing to people to get more members in, and then there's also the strategy of retaining the members that are already in there, which is equally as important, like nurturing the audience that's there rather than just always trying to get more people in.
Nicole, I have learned so much from this conversation.
I'm
It's been
so
great to speak with
glad.
you. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, all over the place. Oh my gosh, I'm on so many platforms. You can find me on Instagram at Nicole Wild Collective, and then also at the Collective Kula. The website is thecollectivekula.com. That will actually be shifting to the-kula.com with our brand glow up. And then I'm on TikTok as well. I'm on YouTube. Anything, basically any platform. If you search Nicole Wild Collective, I'm there.